India is an interesting case. It's a democracy, but its leader, Narendra Modi, is no Democrat. Inciting violence against Muslims was an important factor in his meteoric rise. Modi maintains close relations with both open and closed societies. India is a member of the Quad, which also includes Australia, the US, and Japan. But it buys a lot of Russian oil at a steep discount and makes a lot of money out of it.
Welcome to an eye-opening journey into the world of geopolitics. In today's video, we will take a closer look at the BRICS coalition and delve into the power struggles, strategic alliances, and political maneuvering taking place in the global stage. We will uncover the complex relationships among the BRICS nations, with a special focus on India, a key player whose allegiances are vital in the ever-evolving geopolitical landscape. Join us as we reveal how the West and the powerful elites in Davos are attempting to influence India's position in this crucial alliance. We will explore the role of influential domestic and international forces and delve into the intricate web of political and financial connections that shape BRICS countries' policies and decisions. As the world approaches global conflict, understanding these dynamics is more important than ever. As we embark on this fascinating journey, we'll also discuss how the ongoing conflict in Ukraine is influencing the relationships between the BRICS nations and their growing list of sympathizers. We will examine the bold moves being made by Russia and China and the shifting balance of power that is challenging the West's long-held dominance. But our analysis won't stop there. We'll also take a closer look at India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his strategic decisions as the country finds itself in the crosshairs of the Davos elites. We'll explore the possible implications of these geopolitical games on India's upcoming elections and whether Modi can maintain his grip on power in the face of external pressure. So, if you are ready to dive deep into this complex and captivating world, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for a thrilling analysis of India's role in the shifting balance of power. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's get the conversation started.
BRICS is a group of 5 major emerging economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Established in 2009, the alliance has grown to represent almost half of the world's population and plays a significant part in the global economy. These countries were predicted to become major global players in the 21st century, thanks to their rapidly growing economies, large populations, and increasing global influence. India is a key member of BRICS, having the world's largest population and the 3rd largest economy by GDP at purchasing power parity. India's participation in the alliance covers various areas, including supporting the new development bank and the BRICS Contingent Reserve Arrangement Pool, contributing to economic growth and sustainable development, and participating in joint projects with other member countries. One notable example of India's cooperation with fellow BRICS members is the India, Brazil, and South Africa, or IBSA, Dialogue Forum, which aims to enhance economic, political, and cultural ties between the 3 countries. India is also involved in the BRICS platform for agricultural research, focusing on scientific development to combat hunger, malnutrition, poverty, and inequality. India's influence in the international arena is growing as it seeks to support the rest of the BRICS members in reforming global governance institutions such as the United Nations Security Council, International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization. India's efforts aim to create a multipolar world where no single power can dominate global affairs. In the current geopolitical landscape, India is emerging as a reliable partner in the face of faltering West-China relations. With its strategic location in the Indian Ocean region and its growing maritime strength, India is well positioned to play a crucial role in the global power struggle.
As we move forward, we'll discuss India's increasing role in the global power equation, its relationships with Western nations and China, and how the country's BRICS membership can benefit both India and the alliance as a whole. So stay tuned as we delve deeper into the captivating world of geopolitics and the role of India within the BRICS alliance.
In 2022, India's economy surpassed the United Kingdom's, becoming the fifth largest globally, with a projected growth rate of 7.2% in 2023, despite global challenges. The strong demand from its vast local markets has contributed to this remarkable growth. The World Bank's report titled Navigating the Storm highlights India's economic strength and growth, which is faster than most major emerging markets. The report also suggests that India's banking system is in good shape and that private sector investment is expected to increase in the next year, making India a bright spot in the Asian business and investment world. India's manufacturing sector has also shown impressive growth in 2023, with a score of 57.8 points on the S&P Global Compiled Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI. This growth happened because business conditions improved at their quickest pace in over 2 years, with new orders and output increasing. India is focused on making business easier by simplifying rules and using digital technology. In 2022, the government simplified, streamlined, and digitized 33,000 rules, while India's global ranking in trade improved from 146th place in 2018 to 68th in 2020. This improvement resulted from initiatives such as paperless systems and better risk management, which helped reduce time and cost for traders. Additionally, ongoing reform efforts through the Business Reform Action Plan, BRAP, since 2014 have contributed to a better business environment across India, with the BRAP 2020 including 301 reform points covering 15 business regulatory areas, such as access to information, single window system, labor, environment, land administration and transfer of land and property, utility permits, and others. 118 new amendments were included to further augment the reform process.
The relationship between India and the BRICS group has also played a key role in this economic growth landscape. In particular, in the past year, economic ties with Russia have enabled a significant jump in India's trade balance.
The strengthening of the India-Russia relationship is evident in the increasing trade between the two countries. The Indian Ministry of Petroleum announced that Rosneft, Moscow's top oil company, signed a deal with the Indian Oil Company to increase crude oil supplies to New Delhi. Furthermore, Russia's oil exports to India have surged nearly 22-fold since Western sanctions were imposed. India has also been purchasing large quantities of oil from Russia, paying in dirham and Russian ruble, potentially undermining the dollar's dominance. As Europe increases sanctions, India will become even more central to the global oil map, even because it purchases cheap Russian oil and refines it into fuel for Europe and the US, bypassing de facto the sanctions with the official endorsement of the buyers. Russian pipe producers also are ready to join the construction of the Afghan part of the Tapi gas pipeline, which will transport natural gas from Turkmenistan to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. This pipeline is expected to promote trade, cooperation, peace, and security among the four nations, while providing long-term energy security for over 1.5 billion people. India's growing significance in global oil markets and its interest in Arctic resources further emphasize the strengthening of the India-Russia relationship. The two countries have shown mutual interest in increased bilateral cooperation in the Arctic, with India keen on utilizing the commercial benefits of the Northern Sea Route and diversifying its supply routes with Arctic oil and gas. As global warming and technological innovation make the Arctic region more accessible, countries like China, India, Japan, and South Korea have been attempting to exert influence over Arctic governance. Russia's motives for encouraging Indian presence in the Arctic include diversifying its investor portfolio, avoiding over-reliance on China, and strengthening defense and strategic ties with New Delhi. India's Arctic engagement is also motivated by securing Russian commitment to the North-South Transport Corridor, or INSTC, and concerns over China's increased Arctic presence. India's cooperation with Russia in the Arctic is also linked to their growing space collaboration. Cooperation with India is also less prone to international scrutiny, especially from the United States. The increasing cooperation between India and Russia in the Arctic has the potential to benefit both countries significantly. Russia has abundant Arctic resources that India can utilize, while India has the necessary expertise and technology to help develop these resources. The two countries can also benefit from increased trade through the Northern Sea Route, which could provide a faster and cheaper alternative to traditional trade routes. Russian President Vladimir Putin recently approved Russia's new foreign policy, which emphasizes strengthening strategic partnerships and trade ties with India and China. Among the various positions expressed, the vision of Russia-India relations seems to play a crucial role. India and Russia share a close strategic partnership based on 5 main pillars: politics, defense, civil nuclear energy, counterterrorism cooperation, and space. Russia intends to continue building a strategic partnership with India to expand cooperation in all areas and ensure their resistance to destructive actions of unfriendly states and their alliances. Russia acknowledges India's new status as a great power, its focus on rapid economic development, and its ambition to become a global economic powerhouse and a leader in modern technologies. To achieve this, Russia needs to cultivate and develop a strategic partnership as equals, dropping all patronizing attitudes towards India. Greater Eurasian Partnership is a strategic framework for Moscow's approach, which could pave the way to engage New Delhi in a strategic dialogue. Maintaining strategic partnerships with both India and China is crucial for geopolitical stability in Eurasia. Moscow needs to engage more closely with New Delhi as it further fleshes out the idea of a great Eurasian partnership. It needs to proactively facilitate efforts at better understanding between New Delhi and Beijing and promote positive interaction among the 3 great powers. On several regional issues, from Afghanistan to the Persian Gulf and the broader Middle East, India needs to be treated as Russia's privileged interlocutor and partner. New global issues, from the spread of pandemics to climate change and the energy transition, open up broad new areas for Russia-India cooperation.
India's economic power and growth potential are significant factors that attract interest from the West, particularly the United States and the rest of the world. As a result, there is mounting pressure on India to take a more decisive political stance. However, India's history of international relations offers a unique third way that could help to ease tensions on the global stage. The Ukraine conflict has global implications, with nations taking sides and reviving Cold War rhetoric. The BRICS group, including India, faces a dilemma due to Russia's membership. While the group hasn't condemned the invasion, members like China have sided with Russia, and India's historical ties with Russia complicate its position. BRICS has the potential for global influence, but some analysts think that differing interests among members may limit its effectiveness.
Since Ukraine's independence in 1991, India has enjoyed a friendly relationship with the nation, fostering trade, defense, and cultural ties. However, India remains neutral in the Russia-Ukraine conflict to maintain relationships with both countries and pursue its interests peacefully. Taking a position in the conflict could affect India's economy and international relations. It is vital for India to remain uninvolved to keep regional stability and achieve long-term goals. Managing connections with various countries is essential for India's development as a global power, enabling it to independently chase its objectives on the world stage. In March 2023, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) Security Council gathered in Delhi to discuss counterterrorism, extremism, and related topics such as illegal weapons and drug trafficking. India and Russia emphasized the significance of collaboration in technology, trade, and defense for shared advantages and worldwide peace. India's policy of neutrality, though not in accordance with Western views on democracy and autocracy, is founded on national interests and practical factors. As an emerging power, India needs to balance its relationships while pursuing its unique goals. Despite advocating for diplomacy to resolve the Ukraine conflict, India has not openly denounced Russia's invasion. India's neutrality is complicated by its historical connections with Russia, particularly in energy and defense.
We have really a long-standing relationship with Russia, a relationship that has certainly served our interests well. For multiple decades, Western countries did not supply weapons to India, and in fact saw a military dictatorship next to us as the preferred partner. So I think we all in international politics deal with what we have. We make judgments which are reflective of both our future interests as well as our current situation. And my sense is, in terms of this current conflict, like every military conflict, there are learnings from it, and I'm sure my very professional colleagues in the military would be studying it very carefully.
India, the largest purchaser of Russian weapons, has acquired over $10 billion worth of arms, including S-400 Triumph missile systems, Su-30 and MiG-29 warplanes, and helicopters. Russia is providing S-400 Triumph systems to India and has offered more than 500 items for potential delivery, despite Western sanctions. India's neutral stance in the Russia-Ukraine conflict has received mixed responses, but it allows India to preserve its autonomy in foreign policy decisions and chase its objectives on the global stage. Being non-aligned is crucial for India's strategic interests, allowing it to balance relations with Russia and the West. As a rising global power, India aims to be an unbiased mediator in conflicts. Its dedication to neutrality aligns with its broader foreign policy goals, prioritizing multilateralism and cooperation in organizations like the G20, BRICS, and SCO.
One thing must be crystal clear. The conflict in Ukraine does not change the major global shift that has already taken place. Previously, the main focus of world politics was the US-USSR rivalry in Europe during the Cold War. However, the heart of geopolitical drama has moved to Asia. While the Ukraine conflict remains a primarily European issue, a war in Asia or the Indo-Pacific will drastically alter global power dynamics. Asia's rise to the forefront of the global stage has significantly shifted the geopolitical landscape, with India emerging as a crucial swing state in the Indo-Pacific region. The nation's strategic autonomy and importance have been recognized by Western countries, who are increasingly engaging with India to counterbalance China's growing influence. India's strategic location, robust economy, and enduring democracy make it an ideal partner for the West. The nation has been actively participating in the international organizations and multilateral initiatives, signaling its willingness to shape new rules and institutions in the global system. As a swing state, India's decisions can significantly impact world affairs. India's unique position presents opportunities and challenges. By fostering cooperation and understanding with India, many nations can capitalize on India's influence to maintain regional stability and address shared global challenges such as terrorism, climate change, and trade protectionism. India's involvement in organizations like BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank demonstrates its openness to collaborating on multilateral platforms outside Western dominance. This highlights the importance of including India in the development of new rules and institutions for the international system.
India is currently a key player in the global arena, being a founding member of the BRICS countries and a participant in various international associations, covering practically the whole world. The country shares several discussion and collaboration platforms with China, despite their long-standing border disputes. Within BRICS, India maintains special relations with Brazil and South Africa through the IBSA Dialogue Forum and with Russia and China in the RIC format, which predates BRICS. This year, India is hosting the G20 summit and holds the presidency of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, an Asian political, economic, and cultural bloc that includes China, Russia, and Pakistan, a historical rival. India has also established the ASEAN India Free Trade Area, or AFTA, to expand trade routes to Southeast Asia. India is a member of the well-known Commonwealth and collaborates with the United States in the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, Quad, which includes Japan and Australia too. The country also participates in the Intergovernmental Economic Cooperation Forum, I2U2, with Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The European Union and India have a partnership defined by the 1994 EU-India Cooperation Agreement, and the two sides have been negotiating a free trade deal since 2007. India takes part in the controversial World Economic Forum in Davos, and this year it attended the Trilateral Commission Symposium, held for the first time in conjunction with the organization's 50th anniversary. The Trilateral Commission is a non-governmental and neutral think tank founded by notable but discussed figures like David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, and Zbigniew Brzezinski. However, these meetings are often criticized for their lack of transparency and perceived elitism. During the Trilateral Commission's annual plenary meeting in New Delhi from March 10 to 12, 2023, attended by leaders and strategic thinkers from North America, Europe, and the Asia Pacific, covered topics like India's political, economic, and social evolution, the Ukraine war, Africa, and the impact of social media on democracy. India's quiet diplomacy in defusing the Ukraine crisis and facilitating the Kyiv-Moscow grain deal was highlighted. An anonymous speaker, which cannot be identified according to the rules of the same commission, announced that a multi-decade period of structural inflation will replace 3 decades of globalization. This marks 2023 as the beginning of a new global order. In all this scenario, the fact that India, still its foundation, has been among the so-called non-aligned countries is even more important. The non-aligned movement can become an influential international association in today's context of a crisis in the UN system and other international organizations responsible for maintaining world order. The non-aligned movement can play a crucial role in maintaining military and political sovereignty in developing countries. India has the potential to lead the renewed international non-aligned movement, which aims to address challenges related to national security, sovereignty, and non-involvement in military conflicts amid growing global instability. The current international political architecture is declining, and the birth of a new international order will be long, difficult, and very conflicting. The world is rapidly polarizing into military, political, and socio-economic blocs in groups of countries. The non-aligned movement unites 120 member countries occupying an area of 54.53 million kilometers and is home to about 57% of the world's population. The non-aligned movement is unique as it unites countries with different political systems and levels of economic development with complicated interstate relations. Despite the lack of unity in the movement and approaches regarding the assessment of conflicts, the idea of non-alignment does not mean that the state should remain passive in international politics. On the contrary, the non-aligned movement aims to give voice to developing countries and to encourage their concerted action in world affairs. India, one of the main historical founders of the non-aligned movement, is well positioned to lead the renewed NAM due to its historical experience, economic strength, and growth dynamics. India provides and is ready to continue providing humanitarian aid to Ukraine and act as a peacemaker in resolving the conflict. India's international policy is based on non-alignment, emphasizing dialogue and diplomacy, respect for the international order, and institutions such as the United Nations.
All this necessary premise served us to better understand why the world power seek India's collaboration, but some do it through constructive and collaborative paths, and those who instead put pressure in a defeatist sense to obtain a regime change politician more willing to accept partisan choices. Guess who we are talking about? Before we dive into the details of this case, it's important to know that our job here is simply to report information available to the public. We are not here to pass judgment on any of the parties involved. Everything we will be discussing is based on official sources and independent bloggers who have analyzed and shared their findings with the public. We aim to provide a clear and concise summary of the case without any bias or opinion.
When dealing with governments, public figures, or organizations, a cunning approach is often used that blends propaganda, public manipulation, and political or military action. This is known as a hybrid strategy or hybrid war. In this case, the West is attempting to entice the Indian government with economic rewards, promises of collaboration, and exclusive agreements. At the same time, the media is working to weaken the Prime Minister's authority and that of his government. By using a mixture of different tactics, the West hopes to influence and sway the Indian government to make decisions in their favor. It's a complex game of power, and only time will tell who will emerge victorious. But let's go in order. Last January, the British state television channel BBC broadcast a documentary titled The Modi Question that openly criticized Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's role in the violent 2002 riots in Gujarat, India, which claimed many lives. India blocked the airing of this documentary, stating that it is also forbidden to share any clips through social media. However, the information contained in the documentary was made public anyway. Contemplating the airing of the second episode of the documentary on Modi, the Hindenburg Research Agency releases a report on the activities of the Adani Group. The Adani Group, an Indian multinational corporation, has been accused of receiving preferential treatment from the Indian government, particularly during the administration of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The attack appears to be part of a long-term plan that began when Adani received a project for the Carmichael coal mine in Australia. However, both the government and the Adani Group have denied these allegations. Anyway, the total value of the Adani Group's stocks in the market has decreased by almost 50% since January 24th, when the report was released. Meanwhile, a group of Indian bloggers and media, along with foreign-funded NGOs and their Indian partners, have created a negative image of Adani. Several sources indicate that these digital snipers obtain training and financial support from foreign NGOs and their Indian associates to target nationalist groups and individuals. They organize their attacks and recruit new members through promotional websites. The main goal of this organized campaign is to weaken nationalist organizations, such as the Adani Group, and manipulate public opinion. It is essential that people be aware of these efforts and distinguish between legitimate questioning and calculated attempts to harm specific organizations or specific people. Knowing the nature of these organized campaigns and their possible influence on public opinion is essentially important. By understanding the real motivations behind these attacks, people can more effectively assess the reliability of the information provided and make well-informed decisions. In the case of the Adani Group, it is important to recognize that some concerns may be natural, while others may be part of a thoroughly prepared move to discredit the organization. Discerning between the two can be difficult, but it is necessary to promote transparency and accountability in both business and politics. Otherwise, it is very easy to find oneself exposed to these kinds of accusations. However, Indian opposition parties and leftist media have been trying to use the Adani case to discredit Prime Minister Modi. They have attempted to connect Adani's growing wealth with Modi's electoral victories, accusing them of collaborating to defeat the Congress Party. Despite these efforts, Modi continues to win elections as the Indian public sees through these baseless accusations. Some weeks later, during the last Munich Security Conference, U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer emphasized the need for democracies like the U.S., Europe, and India to unite to maintain the international democratic order and counter China's growing influence. Schumer, who will lead a bipartisan group of senators to India, urged Europe to engage with India as a powerful partner against China. He praised India's democratic traditions and suggested that joining the Western Partnership could strengthen global democracy. On the same occasion, George Soros, a well-known figure in the global regime change machinery, has made statements regarding the Adani issue, hoping it would harm Modi politically. However, these attempts only further validate theories that the attack on Adani is part of a larger plan to undermine India's economic and strategic prospects. Indians have voted for Modi twice with an overwhelming mandate, and they will not be swayed by foreign forces attempting to dictate their choices. But the pressures don't end here. Before he visited Kyiv, Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida was in New Delhi, where he urged India to take a tougher stance on Russia and announced a new Indo-Pacific plan to counter China. Kishida openly promotes a confrontational approach and aims to advance the U.S.'s strategic interests. During his talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they discussed moving Japanese industrial chains to India and enhancing bilateral military cooperation. Kishida also invited Modi to the G7 summit in Hiroshima, which Modi promptly accepted. Leaders from Australia, Brazil, Vietnam, Indonesia, Comoros, the Cook Islands, and South Korea were also invited. It appears that the West is seeking to replace China's global manufacturing dominance with India, while also pursuing political and military cooperation with the country. Experts believe that Kishida's trip is an effort to gain support for Japan's global status, political stance, and momentum for the upcoming G7 summit in Hiroshima. However, Japan is often seen as a U.S. protectorate, and its foreign policy actions are primarily in Washington's interest. Although Japan and India may share a common interest in containing China, India is expected to be cautious. The country is hosting two significant events this year, the G20 Summit and the SCO Summit, which require China's support for success. As a result, India is unlikely to fully collaborate with Japan in countering China, according to some analysts. During the latest edition of the Raisina Dialogue, India's premier conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics committed to addressing the most challenging issues facing the global community, the U.S. representative to NATO said, "The door is open for greater engagement if India seeks a closer partnership," adding that informal exchanges between officials took place.
You see, carrot and stick. Want something more? Listen to this. A few weeks ago, the US State Department released a report that talked about major human rights violations in India during 2022. The report mentioned cases of unlawful killings, disappearances, torture, and other related abuses. It accused the Indian government of gross corruption, the lack of accountability, among other things. The United States has been keeping an eye on human rights violations in India, according to the report. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said, "We have been paying attention to recent events in India, including an increase in human rights violations by some government police and prison officials." All this adds to the clamor in the news over recent protests by Khalistani independence activists in front of Indian embassies in the United States and Britain. Could the now classic COVID boogeyman have been missing? Of course not. In fact, the new Arturo variant, according to some Western media, Italian in particular, is reportedly exploding in India. We think the list provided so far may be enough, but we are sure that in the run-up to the next national elections, we'll see a significant increase in these activities or some colorful revolution. The Indian public seems to have made its choice, as Soros and other Western influencers try to convince Indians that they are not democratic enough, and the more votes the nationalists receive. The moral and strategic vacuum of the West is increasingly visible, and the Indian people are unlikely to be swayed by their interference in the country's politics. Meanwhile, interest is growing in Prime Minister Modi's visit to the United States next June, an occasion when the Indian government's position on Russian-Ukrainian war is surely to be discussed.
India's general elections are set to take place by May 2024, and already are drawing the interest of people within the country and worldwide. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, is working to win a third consecutive term, while the opposition aims to prevent this. The political atmosphere in India is tense in regard to the country's trajectory under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership. A key criticism of Modi's government is its increasing authoritarianism and focus on Hindu nationalism, which raises concerns about India's democratic future. Opposition leader Rahul Gandhi was sentenced to 2 years in prison for defamation, which only increased anxiety. In any case, the sentence was suspended to allow Gandhi to participate in the upcoming general elections. Opposition parties in India face difficulties in collaborating, but agree only on the need to stop the BJP. They hope to utilize the anti-corruption movement to unite people and form a robust opposition. However, regional parties' local objectives make unity challenging. The opposition knows it is particularly important to cooperate, develop a clear plan to appeal to various groups, and work with grassroots movements and organizations to increase support. But they seem to be stronger in the media than in reality. Meanwhile, the BJP is ramping up its efforts to establish well-built communication with voters and secure a third consecutive term. The party highlights Modi's government's accomplishments, reinforces its dedication to social justice and equality. During the BJP's 43rd Foundation Day, Prime Minister Modi criticized other parties for prioritizing family connections in politics, emphasizing that the BJP puts the country first. He praised his party's dedication to democracy, the Constitution, and the Indian people, contrasting it with the opposition's alleged focus on personal interests.
As the general elections approach, the BJP intensifies its efforts in order to solidify its position as India's leading political force. By showcasing Modi's government's achievements, the BJP's campaign revolves around its success in improving the country, fighting corruption and crime. The party is proud of its achievements, aims to assist the poor, and seeks to promote integrity for all nations. Only time will tell whether these strategies will resonate with the Indian people and translate into electoral success for the BJP. Modi and his party stand poised to face the challenges ahead with determination, conviction, and unwavering belief in the power of democracy. Our extensive exploration into India's role on the global stage has reached its conclusion. The complexity of this topic has required in-depth study, although it will continue to shape the global political landscape for years to come. We hope this video has provided you with a deeper understanding of the challenges India faces at the attempt to navigate this difficult terrain. Please let us know your point of view, sharing your comments. We thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to help us making more inspiring content.